Technology, cell phones. I got married recently and my wife is like, don't be on your phone so much, you know? She's always like, talk to me. Don't be on your phone. And it's sad. It's like a sad reality that she thinks she's as interesting as the coolest thing that I own. You're not. This thing has everything on it. You could watch two people have sex, fight, and then a Noam Chomsky TED Talk in 3 seconds. We take that for granted. I don't need to hear your lunch break stories. Can you imagine? This is amazing. It has everything. We take it for granted. If you went back in time, like all the way back to the 50s, and you went up to someone, and you were just like, look at this thing. It has everything on it. He'd be like, wow, that's amazing. Everything? What, like books? And you'd be like, all the books. We just don't use them anymore. How amazing is that? And he'd be like, what? Books? Like, what else? You know? And he'd be like, everything. What? Like, your friends? And you're like, oh, all your friends are on here. Even girls that you had crushes on in junior high school. You could accidentally like photos of them from 6 years ago at the beach. Because you forgot that double tap isn't zoom in on Instagram. And he'd be like, oh, that's amazing. You must be on it all the time. And you gotta be like, no, my wife doesn't let me. And he'd be like, what? Well, you hit her, right? And you're like, oh my God, Jesus. I forgot it was the 50s. I'm gonna go back to 2017 where we don't say that out loud. You know, I don't know. What are we doing here? I smoke pot. I like pot. I smoke it. And a lot of people talk about how healthy pot is, you know. But I don't know. Like, I feel like pot is the only drug where you could talk about how healthy it is in the same breath as coughing to the point of vomiting for 5 straight minutes. Literally, it's like, dude, you don't gotta read the studies. It's like, no one's ever died from, oh my God! The more you cough, the healthier it is, you know? I don't know. But there's no other way to do it. It's the only way to smoke it. You know, the only way to do it is to smoke it. And some people are like, try edibles. You know, my wife is like, try edibles. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Have you tried edibles recently? What am I gonna just gamble with my entire day? It's like, hey, here's an edible. Either you'll be high not at all or for 15 hours of terror. Who knows? No, you're only supposed to eat 1/4 of 1/3 of 1/8 of that brownie, not 1/3 of 1/8 of a half. Now you're gonna die of weed. You're supposed to eat 1/2 of 1/3 of 1/4 of that jelly bean. Now you're gonna die of weed. Here, have this banana. No, that's a weed banana. You know? I did get married. I'll tell you something about marriage. Here's the thing, everyone says the wrong things. They're always like, you know, when I was getting married, they were like, hey, man, once you get married, you're never gonna have sex. You ever hear that? That's it, sex is over, but that's not true. What is true, I've found, is you will have sex, but it's gonna be with the grossest person you've ever met for the rest of your life. They are and not, my wife's beautiful, she's beautiful, so I resent you saying she's gross. But everyone is gross if you're around them long enough. Recently, my wife's toenail fell off of her body. She stubbed it, a few days later, turned black and blue and fell off. And instead of her being like, oh my God, that's embarrassing, she was like, hey Barry, come here, you gotta see this. I came in, I was like, what is that in your hand? Like one of those blue tortilla chips? What is that? And she was like, no, better, it's my toenail. I was like, why is it in your hand? She was like, because it's not on my toe. It's just blood and pus now. We had sex 2 minutes later. The toenail was still in her hand. That's my life. Can you imagine if I went back in time and said that to my 10-year-old self? Like go up to my 10-year-old self and be like, hey, one day you're gonna have sex with a woman right after her toenail falls off. I feel like young me would look at old me and just be like, how are you so weirdly fat? Like in weird places. Is that my future? All right, guys, thank you very much.